So why did y'all show up today? What are you trying to do?
Protect our rights.
Protect our rights.
Get legislators off their butts to do their jobs.
Okay. And
Get constitutional carry passed.
get constitutional carry passed. How many people are here today in support of constitutional carry? Yeah, most of us have a lot of other things we'd also like to see passed, but we're here in support of constitutional carry, and if you're wearing the shirt, you definitely probably are. Y'all come on in, find a seat, you're good. And I am really pleased and honored that we have 10 organizations participating in Texas Gold. And that includes Gun Owners of America, and we have John Valeco here from Gun Owners of America. You'll be hearing from him in a little bit. And National Association for Gun Rights, Chris McNutt is here, but he just went for lunch. He's also representing Texas gun rights. Cold Dead Hands 2A advocacy group, they weren't able to send a rep here today, but they made a large donation to sponsor t-shirts, and we're grateful for that. Lone Star Gun Rights with Justin DeLoche and a couple others, and they are here and at lunch. And Texans for Accountable Governments, Michael Cargill was representing them at the press conference. Texas Carry, Texas Firearms Freedom, which is me, and Texas Log Cabin Republicans. I believe that's our 10 organizations right there. I'm very grateful for all those organizations participating because they all want to remove the license requirement for carrying a handgun. So schedule for the rest of the day, we're going to have this briefing for 20-30 minutes, let you know about the gun bills and what we're doing, get you prepped for that. Then we're going to divide up into groups, and I have all the legislative offices divided into 5 different steps. And we have 5 different group leaders. Each of them is responsible for that set of offices. So they did about half the offices in the morning segment, and then y'all will be going and doing half of that group's set of offices this afternoon and finishing those up. And your group leader is responsible for having a lot of papers for you to hand out and other information, and can answer a lot of questions that you may have on specifics. I'm going to try to give you some broad brush information, particularly about the different bills, because I want each of y'all to feel capable about talking about these bills when you go and visit the offices. Because even if you've never gone and talked to a rep, you don't feel like you understand the legalese, each one of y'all is very capable of talking and telling them your opinion. In fact, you are the one most qualified to give your opinion to the legislature. And that's why you're here, so you can do that. We are, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So we're going to go and visit the offices. I don't have a cutoff time. If you need to go, if you have something else to do, you're welcome to go do that. If you want to break off and visit your own representative, go ahead and do that by all means. Whenever you finish, if you want to come back here and check back into the room, do that before 4 o'clock. We're definitely going to be out of here by 4. After we leave here, you're welcome to come out to my place for hamburgers and hot dogs. If you're interested in that, let me know as soon as possible. You can just shoot me a text. All my number is at the bottom of most every page that I gave you. Shoot me a text, let me know, and I can give you my address. We'd love to have you come and hang out and visit with us tonight. All right, I'm going to go over the 4 featured bills. So you are welcome to promote any bills that you would like, that you support when you go today. Somebody's smiling. We've selected 4 featured bills that we think most of y'all will probably be interested in supporting. The number 1 bill, which is a priority probably for most of us here, is going to be HB 375. And that is constitutional carry, which says that anybody who may legally possess a handgun may carry it open or concealed without a license. Over 20% of the U.S. states recognize constitutional carry. And instantly, I'm reading through, I'm giving you the talking points, which are on the list you're going to be handing to the rep. So what you can do is while you're walking over and taking the elevator down and talking, on your way to the offices, take a look at this, pick one of those that really sticks out to you and resonates with you and means something to you, and share that with the rep. You don't have to have the page memorized. Just share with them something that's meaningful to you about the bill that you support and why it helps you and why you think they should pass it and support it. So some talking points on constitutional carry. Over 20% of U.S. states recognize constitutional carry. There's a quote from the Crime Prevention Research Center, which is Dr. John Lott. It says the 5 states in 2013 that allowed concealed carry without a permit had much lower murder and violent crime rates than the 5 jurisdictions with the permit rates. And so that's important as well. That's important because the Texas legislature has the power, has the authority under the Texas Constitution to regulate the wearing of arms with a view to prevent crime. And we show them, actually, the licensing system does not prevent crime. So therefore, where do you think your authority is to mandate a licensing system? And so that's a very constitutional way of approaching it. Contrary to opinion of some, HB 375 does not allow gang members and felons to carry handguns. Does not allow people to go murder each other. It simply allows them to carry that handgun that they may legally possess. And in case you weren't aware, Texas law, as it is right now today, states that anybody who may legally possess that handgun may carry it on their person, just like I'm carrying this handgun today, fully loaded and openly on your own property in your yard. You may carry it in your car, on your person, fully loaded as long as it's concealed. But you may not step out of your car to get gas. You may not step off your property to go to the mailbox just a little down the road or visit your neighbor. And so constitutional carry fixes that. It allows you to carry. Ultimately, I believe the purpose of an armed citizenry and the reason behind the right to keep and bear arms that is affirmed in the Constitution is as a defense against a tyrannical government. And if the government is the one controlling the licensing process, we defeat that purpose. Ultimately, I believe that's the purpose we're pushing for constitutional carry. Those are some points. You don't have to have that spiel memorized. I don't want you to memorize that spiel. I want you to have your own reasons, the things that mean the most to you that you can share with the representative when you're in their office. Another bill we're featuring that you may wish to promote is HB 131, the Made in Texas bill. It exempts firearms, firearm accessories, and ammunition that's manufactured, sold, and used in Texas from Congress's power to regulate interstate commerce. So here's the deal. Federal firearms regulations, for example, requiring a very intricate, long, and expensive process to get a suppressor, short-barreled rifle, and other things like that, they come from the Interstate Commerce Clause, which has to do with commerce that crosses over state lines. If a firearm is manufactured here, sold here, and stays here, it shouldn't be subject to that. And this bill would guarantee that it's not subject to those federal regulations, and also mandate the Attorney General defend anybody whom the federal government tries to come against. Several other states have passed this for firearms, etc. The Texas legislature overwhelmingly passed a bill several years ago which exempted interstate manufactured incandescent light bulbs from federal regulations. So that's a different item we're talking about, but the same type of process. And so that's a good thing to bring up talking to legislators. That's HB 131. Another one is HB 560, and this is the LTC holder freedom to carry bill. This would allow license holders to carry in the same places essentially where law enforcement may carry. So it takes those bans from the penal code in 46.03 and 46.035, and it repeals them or says they don't apply to license holders. It still would be against the law to carry while intoxicated. That's an issue that comes up sometimes. It doesn't affect that. This does not affect private property rights. So it doesn't affect the 30-06, 30-07 signage. Any property owner can still put those signs up. This merely says that the government is not going to mandate that regardless of the business owner's wishes, you may not carry here. It gets rid of that. With only a couple of exceptions, every public mass shooting in the U.S. since 1950 has taken place where citizens are banned from carrying guns. And when in situations where you're shooting to stop a threat, you compare law enforcement's record with private citizens' record. Law enforcement has, it's been shown, an 11% error rate, meaning more innocent people are killed, while armed citizens had a 2% error rate. It's a big difference there. According to DPS statistics from here in Texas, during a 3-year period, law enforcement were 10 times more likely than license holders to commit felonies and misdemeanors, and 7 times more likely to commit firearms violations. So, while I personally don't think that we should have a licensing requirement or a separate class, we are featuring this bill because a lot of us believe that it does expand a lot of freedoms in a lot of ways. And because it's basically putting license holders on the same level as law enforcement, instead of holding up law enforcement as a privileged class of carriers, that's why it's helpful to make and relevant to make those comparisons for this. Final featured bill is going to be HB 1935, which is the Knife Freedom in Texas bill. And this is one that Knife Rights has been working on quite a bit. It passed, I believe it passed the House last time around, and was killed in the Senate on procedural things that didn't even have to do with the content of the bill. So it would remove illegal knives from Texas statutes. It does then add a paragraph that prohibits their possession by students in a school, and the student would be expelled. So it adds illegal knives for schools, but it takes away any of the illegal knives from the prohibited weapons for regular Texans. And that includes any knife with a blade that's longer than 5.5 inches, and holder lists a dagger, a dirk, a stiletto, bowie knife, throwing knife, sword, or spear. Currently, those illegal knives may be possessed, but they can't be carried again outside your home or motor vehicle or watercraft. So it's the same concept as a constitutional carry. It's essentially constitutional carry for knives. You may own it, you may carry it. Currently, the law is unfair and unenforceable because there aren't definitions for these knives in Texas statute. And knife laws are disproportionately enforced against people of color all across the United States. And that is a primary reason that a lot of Democrats are supporting the bill. Even if they don't support knife rights or Second Amendment issues, to them it's not a Second Amendment issue, it's a discrimination issue. And so a lot of them are coming on board and supporting. I believe it even has a Democratic author or sponsor. I have to look that up to see for sure. A person can be arrested, fined $4,000, and sentenced to a year in jail for carrying an illegal knife in a location where that same person is allowed to carry a rifle or a shotgun. Why? I mean, it doesn't sound fair, it doesn't sound right. And that's a fact that can be brought up to just create questions in your legislators' minds about, oh, why do we have this law? Maybe this isn't a reasonable law. And ironically, Texas, which is the state perhaps most associated with the Bowie knife, is one of the few states that specifically prohibits citizens from carrying Bowie knives, and this would remedy that situation. So, some good reasons to bring up. Again, not expecting you to memorize this. You can be looking at this sheet if you need to. I'll give you a couple of points. Don't try to read the whole thing. They can read it later, right? But give a few things that are relevant to you and that help them see the bill perhaps in a different way than they've seen it before. All right. So you will have paperwork available, and the idea is that you'll be grouped in a team. I think we had about 6 or 7 people in each team when we sent them out this morning. So that whole team may divide into 2 separate teams, and you might have, or 2 or 3 separate teams. You might have 2 or 3 people in each office. So expect to take a turn speaking. I want each of y'all to get a chance to do that because you're totally capable of it. So when you go in, you're going to want to ask to speak. It would be awesome to speak with a representative, but if you don't have an appointment, that's very unlikely. Ask to speak with the chief of staff or the legislative director or anybody who can handle Second Amendment issues for that office. So we're going to speak with the highest up person we can. The next highest up after the rep is going to be chief of staff or legislative director. Before you go into the office, your group leader will help you know if this is a Republican or a Democrat. And that's going to affect you because if it's a Republican, you need to make sure you bring up that constitutional carry is the #1 Republican Party of Texas priority, legislative priority. So make sure you bring that up. Today is also the RPT Legislative Priority Day. I know a lot of y'all were at that training this morning. So we are complimenting their efforts to promote the legislative priorities. And it's important to mention that because it strengthens your case. If you're talking to a Democrat, there's not really a need to mention that because the Democrats aren't really particularly interested in promoting the #1 RPT agenda, right? Okay, so mention that for Republicans, and that's why, make sure you note before you go into the office which one it is. So you'll note that information. Your group leader will also tell you if it is somebody who has already co-authored Constitutional Carry 375. And that's good information. If they already have, thank them for that and move on to the other bills you'd like to talk about. That's only about, I think, a dozen or less. So not a ton of those. But definitely thank them if they're on your list. We have some paperwork available. So once you're talking to the person you'll be talking to, we're expecting, I think the groups are spending maybe 3 to 5 minutes. Could be less if it's really just a staffer and that's all that's there in the office. We have a card that you will hand them. That's very simple, and it just says, we urge that you support, co-author, and vote yes on the following bills to make Texas a safer, freer, and stronger state. And who doesn't want that for Texas, right? Safer, freer, and stronger state. And I list those 4 bills I just talked about, with HB 375 being the #1 priority bill. If you do not agree with this, do not hand it to them. I'm assuming most of y'all do, so I printed it up to make it easier. But if you have another paper to hand to them, feel free to do that. This is your lobby day. This is not you reading my script off. So say your opinion. I do ask that especially if you're wearing a Texas Gold shirt, what I would hold you to is we're going to be respectful. We're going to be courteous. Know what you're talking about. So you take a look at it before you go in. You don't have to know everything and have all the answers, but make sure you've studied enough that you do know somewhat of what you're talking about, know what your opinions are. Treat them like people. They are people, and it is entirely possible to have your strong opinions and not water it down one single bit, and still be courteous and respectful. And Mr. Vleck is going to talk about that in a minute too. But that's the only thing that I would absolutely hold you to while you're at this event, which I'm coordinating, is that you, by your actions and behavior, are promoting constitutional carry. You're wearing the shirts. You're promoting it in your actions. Communication is 7 to 10% words. The rest of that is body language, tone, inflection, and such. So you are an ambassador simply by walking through the Capitol, wearing your shirt, presenting yourself as an intelligent, respectable person and a member of society. Armed society is a polite society. That's what we're going to be today while we push strongly for constitutional carry. And so we have this card you can hand them. And a lot of times in the offices, they're going to ask you for a one-pager. Do you have a one-pager about that? Some information. So that's why you can hand them this information that has a lot of those talking points that I just went over. If you have a personal story or other things, feel free to add that in. At this time, I would like to ask Mr. Vlecko to come and give some tips on office visits.
That's right. It's John. Mr. Vlecko's in Battle Creek, Michigan somewhere. John Vlecko. We're Gun Owners of America. And first I want to say that putting together something like this is a lot of work. Even getting the room and getting all the people in here, and Rachel's done a great job.
Yeah.
I have experienced lobbying. I've been a federal lobbyist with GOA since around 2000. And I also worked for an East Texas congressman for 2 years in his DC office, so I have some experience on the other side of the table too. So I just want to talk about a few things that you always do in a meeting, whether it's your state legislator, county, congressman, whoever it is. First, you want to make this personal. You have a story. Everybody has a story. Tell your story. Facts are good, and facts support our case, and facts are boring. But your story isn't, because that helps you relate to the person you're talking to. And by story, I don't mean, I was born in this year. I mean a sentence or two that, why do when I carry, like Rachel said, you could carry in your car. So how come I'm driving down the road, but then when I get out of the car to get gas, if I forget to take my gun out, why am I a criminal? Or if I'm a lady and I have to walk 7 blocks to the bus stop to go visit my sick relative, why can't I have a gun in my purse? Why do I have to fear the government more than I fear the criminal? So you want to make the people be able to relate to you as a person, so they're not disputing with you over facts and figures. Make them confront the question of, why do you want to disarm me? Because that's a much tougher question. So when you go in there, it doesn't help you to rattle off that I'm an NRA member, I'm a GOA member, I'm an NAGR member. You're sitting in their office, you probably have a gun. They know where you're coming from. It's much more important to say, I'm Mary, I'm a librarian, I'm the church secretary down First Baptist. Give them something that makes it more personal, and that will be much more impressionable, because what a lot of people don't realize is that as a gun lobby organization like GOA, we get all of our influence, all of our power from the grassroots. But it doesn't work in the reverse. You don't get anything by throwing out our name. They're more interested in who you are. That's number one. Number two, always have a handout, which Rachel has for you. 10 minutes after you leave, they probably had 2 other meetings already. And they're not going to get to your stuff until later or even another day. So it's always important to have a handout, and you might even write your contact information on it if you don't have a separate card. And number three, and maybe perhaps the most important thing, and a lot of lobbying is just common sense, like what your parents taught you, be nice, be considerate. And number three is just follow up. And there are three reasons to follow up. One is it's polite. Yes, they work for you. You're the taxpayer, and you can take that approach. You take that approach with a cop when you get a ticket. It's probably not going to go too well. But they're still human, and they want to be liked. And so we thank them. That's one reason to follow up. So whoever you meet with, get their card, get their contact information, and follow up and thank them for taking the time to meet. But more importantly, it also gives you an opportunity to reiterate what you said. Thank you for taking time to meet with me. About constitutional carry. I hope that that your boss or you support, co-sponsor, and vote for this bill. It gives you an opportunity to really bring your point back home. And number three, you can open up some dialogue. If you have any questions, please feel free to use me as a resource. And you may be able to get some back and forth, especially if you're meeting with someone who represents a district you live in. Then you kind of open that dialogue. Then you see a newspaper article, you see something that supports our cause, you can email them, hey, this is Tom, remember we met last week, I thought you'd find this article interesting. And you open up a dialogue like that, and that really helps to get your point across to your own legislators and to others. So those are, based on my experience, the facts and all of the information is vitally important. That's why you leave it with them. But the main thing is to relate to them, make them relate to you, and make them view you as a person, not as a representative of some nebulous group. So that's it for me.
Thank you very much. So you're here because you want to promote constitutional carry. And you're here because you're doing something really great. I'm going to let you on a secret. You're here because you're breaking the rules. And here's how we're breaking the rules. And this is the unwritten rules. Everybody says that you have to, everybody told us a few years ago it was going to be 20 years before we got a constitutional carry bill filed. They told us we have to get unlicensed open carry and then wait a few years, and then we have to go through licensed open carry, then we have to go through unlicensed open carry, and then after that, then we can start thinking about constitutional carry. And those are the rules by which you're supposed to do this, right? And what we did is we broke the rules. We said, actually, no, we don't want to do that, and there's no law that says you have to do that. There's no law that says constitutional carry has to be filed and die for 5 years before it gets passed. So we said, actually, we want constitutional carry now. And the reason that we have moved ahead so fast in Texas, okay, granted, we were way, way behind, okay, so I'm not trying to give us bonus points for where we are. But we went from last year passing licensed open carry to this year we're pushing for constitutional carry, and we're going to get a whole lot closer to it. And the reason is all the people who have showed up and not just said, oh, that's what we're supposed to do. Okay, no worries, Mr. Legislature, we'll be okay with that. We've showed up, and while being courteous, we are still strongly pushing for the fact that we are not okay with anything besides constitutional carry. And you can't give us something else and have us go away and be okay with that. That is the reason. It's not just because the group leaders are showing up or because I come and testify. No, I try to testify as much as I can. It's because all of y'all show up. So not only now to this event, Texas Gold, but also to the hearing. That's going to be very, very important to do. All right. What questions do you have? Yes.
Well, I was just wondering, the Second Amendment does not give me the right.
No, it doesn't. It affirms the
My
God-given right.
Creator gave me the right, not the Second Amendment, and I haven't heard it said today.
Oh, the way I try to phrase it is the Second Amendment affirms our God-given rights. We don't get the right. If that got repealed, we wouldn't suddenly lose the right. We still have the right. It's just not legislatively affirmed. It's not constitutionally affirmed or legislatively
I was
affirmed.
born with it, It's not because some government person wrote something down.
If it was because the government
It's always
person,
there.
yeah, if it was because the government person had written it down, it would be a privilege granted to us. It's not a privilege; it's a right, and we're working to get that legislatively affirmed here in Texas. Yes.
Do we need to go go to those little kiosk things and enter into those and say that we support all of these?
That's a fantastic question. Yes, but not today. You can do that only when there is a hearing for that bill on that day. And you have to be here at the Capitol to do that. So either go to the kiosks or sign into the Capitol Wi-Fi. And it only is for today's hearing. So if there happens to be a bill today that you support, you can go register opinion on it or register to testify on it. I don't know of any particular ones that are up today. Definitely not any gun bills. But that process is important to understand for when there's a hearing. So yeah, when you're walking around the halls, take note of where those kiosks are, and you'll be that much more prepared for when there is a hearing. Other questions? Yes.
I have any questions?
Mm-hmm.
I should focus on Kemple, John Kemple,
Okay.
because I don't want to say what it is, but should
Okay.
focus on him and get him convinced.
Would you be willing to take the lead for us on that?
We've already done it.
Excellent.
Not today, but we did it another day or something.
Excellent. This would be a fantastic time to network and find other people to help you along with that.
I think
This
one-
is where
one-
active people are. I'm sorry?
One should do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So feel free to grab some other people.
It's Butler County.
Yeah. Cool. Yes.
How old are those knife rules?
How old are the what?
The knife rules, when did that go into effect?
When did it go into effect?
Is that a Reconstruction thing?
It was 1800s. It was a rule to try to prevent dueling.
Okay.
And so that's why bow knives are specifically prohibited.
Okay. So, good question, and that's a good point to bring out too. Other questions?
Just a comment.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to go visit somebody more than once. Just go bang on his door every time you're in the building. Call him every day until he's sick of hearing of it. I mean, I call King's office now, and everybody that picks up the phone, half of them recognize my voice because I've been calling every single day. And don't be afraid to do that.
And there's an encouraging note. So last time constitutional carry was filed, it never got a hearing, but a ton of us showed up and testified on it and said we wanted to drop the license requirement. Well, this year, the instant that it got referred, that 375 got referred to a committee, a ton of us called that committee chairman, and last week in the middle of an organizational meeting, he took time to talk about how it had blown up his phone lines and shut his office down. And that is a form of political pressure. And that is what people take notice of and say, oh, there are a lot of people interested in this, and there are enough people that could cause problem when it comes time for re-election. And so letting them know right from the beginning that we are watching and that we are interested in this bill having a committee hearing and we're not going away is important to getting that process moving quickly. Did you have something you were going to say? Sorry, I thought, yes.
Well, what exactly the Texas Constitution says, because now we are fighting to pass constitutional carry in Texas. So what the Texas Constitution says about it, I mean, the government has to come in.
Okay,
You know, to get
okay.
permission from the government. Who did this?
Okay, so I forgot to say one thing that I always say at the beginning. I've said enough times I forgot I didn't say it today. Constitutional carry is called constitutional carry because it's like saying the United States Constitution is our permit to carry. It affirms that right. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, and no other permit to carry should be required. The state constitution does say that every citizen shall have the right to bear arms in defense of
Shall have the
himself
right
and
to-
the states, but the legislature shall have the right to regulate the wearing of arms with a view as to prevent crime.
Not right, the
No.
power.
The power. The
of
power.
the
Thank you.
power, which
The
is a
power.
big difference.
Thank you, Emma. The power to regulate the wearing of arms with the view to prevent crime. And that's why we say, okay, you have the power to regulate if it prevents crime. And we're going to show you how having the license requirement does not prevent crime. And that's why it is upon you, it is incumbent upon you to remove the license requirements. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, good. What other questions do we have? Yes.
I think it was Representative Phillips, can't remember, anyways, brought up the fact that Stickland he ruffles feathers. I said that, he's representing the people that talked to him, and he's doing what we asked him to do. But evidently, we know this goes on, but it was just told to me today
Okay.
by a representative.
Okay, so think about a stream. Stream keeps on flowing, and all like the same until it hits a roadblock, a rock, and then it moves, and then it changes, right? Do we want things to continue as they are, or do we want change? Anybody want change? We want change, okay? So in order for change to happen, you have to have somebody who's that rock in the road. You can't just, let the river go on and pray that something comes up someday to change it. You have to create that change. That involves people who are uncomfortable with change being upset and accusing you of ruffling feathers. That is a necessary part of change. What I say, for as far as us, is call them out, don't cuss them out. There's never a reason to make a personal attack. Say, oh, you're a lousy person and you shoot with your mouth open and you're a horrible dad. That has nothing to do with them passing bills. What we do say is you stalled the bill. You didn't let this pass. You broke your campaign promise. And we list specifics. That's not a personal attack, that's factual. And if that ruffles feathers and makes people upset, it's the truth and it's to create a necessary change. And that's the way I would answer that. I don't know if you have anything else to say about that.
Yeah,
If you're ruffling feathers, you know you're doing it right.
Well, I would avoid, what's the saying, don't never wrestle with the pig, you just get money and you know the pig, right? That's one of those tactics they throw back at you that you just shouldn't engage in. They want to make it about a personality, don't make it about a personality. I would say to them, look, I'm sorry if you have problems with Rep. Stickland on a personal level. I'm not a legislator, I can't file a bill. None of us are legislators, we can't file a bill. So whatever issue you have with his personality has no bearing on my right to bear arms to defend myself and my family. And the fact that Rep. Stickland is the one who did file a bill that recognized what my rights are has no bearing on whether or not it's a good or a bad bill. The right's what matters. The issue is what matters. I would ask them, why didn't you file a bill if you had a problem with Rep. Stickland?
Amen.
I also suggest that there are a lot of other very good people who are supporting the bill. It's not one.
Cool, other questions? Yes, Jeff.
You don't have a Senate or Senate companion bill yet.
There's not a Senate companion bill. It doesn't have to have a Senate companion bill. It can go through the House, and then that bill gets sent to the Senate and goes to the Senate. That's another reason why this has to move quickly so we don't hit deadlines and have people say, oh, we ran out of time. There is enough time to pass bills if people are inclined to pass bills. That's how bills get passed. Yes.
So, I'm not a U.S. citizen,
Okay.
but still I'm here to support you all
Thank you.
for this cause. Because I firmly believe that the day I came to the United States, I would assimilate and be like an American. So my goal, and as a true Texan, so my goal is here to support you all, because I just want to be under the legal thing, from a legal standpoint, what I can or cannot do. I don't want to tread that fine line. Does it make sense? Is my question valid?
If you're a legal resident,
No, I'm not.
if you ever do get your green card,
Yes,
you have all the same rights as citizens, except
I cannot vote it.
Yeah, for voting money for office. So the gun thing would totally apply to you.
Okay, but for today, I'm here to morally support you guys and,
Thank you.
get there.
Thank you for your support.
No problem.
Other questions?
Can I just
Yes.
add a comment on the
Yes.
feather rufflers and all of those? There's a lot of different tools. When you go to build a house, if you have just a hammer, you need more. You need a saw. You need this. You need that. You need a lot of different tools and a lot of different tool carriers and a lot of different people. And if all you ever do is go in with a hammer and beat on something, you can't build anything up. But you have to have a hammer to build things. And so I understand that question about the feather rufflers and those. That has been going on since grassroots started. And that's the personalities of all the different people involved. And you need all those tools, all of them.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Other questions? Any other questions before we divide into groups? waiting for a couple of small group leaders to get back. You're back, Richard. Do you know where the others are? Do they go to lunch somewhere?
I think they did. I have to run all of this to some staff. Liability,
Okay. Justin texted he'll be here soon, and all the other group leaders have all the paperwork, so I don't have the paperwork, but we can go ahead and divide up into teams, and y'all can start looking over the issues. I can pass out a couple of these talking points lists that I have. How many do we have in the room? Okay, let's divide up with about 4 people per team, and then we'll have others coming in that'll join, so it'll be about 6. So if y'all want to group yourselves, we can have 4 people join Richard over here. So Richard, if you want to go ahead and stand up, Richard's one of our team leaders, or our section leaders, and you still have enough paperwork, right? Do you still have enough paperwork for this afternoon? Okay, let's have 4 people who are ready to go. Let's go talk to the representatives. Let's go talk to the legislators and do this thing that we've been talking about doing, okay? So I need 4 people over here with Richard. And y'all, as soon as you have your 4 people, 4 to 5 people, feel free to go ahead and go. You got it?
Yeah,
All right, go for it. And y'all can go ahead and go on. And the everybody else, let's go ahead and divide the
So
groups
that
of 4 or 5. And
is
as our group leaders come in,
basically
you can join them and go to
briefing for today, and I'm going to stop the video here a little bit. And if you guys are in Austin or can get to Austin by tonight, come on down, come on over. We'll be back here. We'll be at Rachel's tonight. So there's still a lot going on. Okay. Yay.